Hi, I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're coming to you from Qumulo's office in Seattle, Washington. The cloud is becoming a very popular space for media and entertainment professionals to innovate, but we're really only scratching the surface of what can be done there. Joining me on the light board to talk about that is Scott Kovach. He is the Business Development Manager for Cloud at Qumulo. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, George. Appreciate it.
So talk about what you got going on up here.
Yeah, so as we were discussing, there's a lot of interesting innovation being done in the media and entertainment space around storage, and especially when it comes to the cloud. So this industry is really exciting at the moment, making larger movies than ever have been made, a lot of collaboration, but they're also under a lot of challenges with deadlines, trying to take advantage of remote employees and artists and things like that.
Sure.
So a lot of people have turned to the cloud to try to find a new way to innovate and take advantage of that technology. And historically, we've seen a lot of success with rendering and things that are more ephemeral. But what we have kind of worked with studios to do is actually move post-production, editing, animation work where artists actually have to do active workflows into the cloud.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of new, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
It is. Yeah, and so what makes Qumulo unique in being able to help studios with this, both large studios and small. We work with studios that are some of the biggest in the world in Hollywood, as well as some that have 10 or 12 people, is the fact that from the beginning, Qumulo is built for the hybrid cloud, which means the file system that people have come to love on-prem is the exact same file system experience they get in the cloud.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so one thing that immediately makes that unique is that we can support both SMB and NFS workflows, which means you can use all of the applications from Adobe, Autodesk, what have you, in the cloud. Just like you would on premises.
Okay.
So what I've drawn here is a representation of Qumulo in either AWS or GCP.
Okay.
With two remote artists. So you could say that this artist, let's say they are in Los Angeles, and let's say a lot of LA studios have a footprint in Vancouver,
okay,
BC, and they can connect to the cloud just from, say, a simple desktop here with a mouse, and then same here, and then this person's connected to a Linux workstation, this person's connected to a Windows workstation, and then over SMB and NFS they connect to a Qumulo cluster, which takes 2 seconds to stand up, and you can do that directly through the marketplace or talking to Qumulo, and then from that point you just simply mount an NFS mount or a SMB share, and you're up and running with your applications that you're familiar with and the familiarity that you come to know with an on-prem workflow.
So where is the processing being done? Is it being done here or in the cloud?
Great question. So all of the processing is done entirely in the cloud.
Okay, so it almost really doesn't matter from a power standpoint what the guy has here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can imagine spinning up a Qumulo cluster in GCP and you're working in LA, you could work from home on a Wacom tablet or something and just simply work remotely like that.
Well, that's got to be a big cost savings too, because you don't have to go out and buy these massive workstations everywhere that they are, right? You can leverage what's already there.
Exactly. So a couple of use cases for this that we've seen are when a studio in one place is looking to open up a location in another city, instead of having to first go purchase data center space and purchase data center gear and servers. Instead, they just find the talent there, right, and they can immediately start taking advantage of that talent and saying, these artists are fantastic, I'd like to work with them. And then the first thing that they can do is immediately just start working out of the cloud. And you can create a cluster and you can replicate data from one place to another and collaborate.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you could drop them in a co-working facility and boom, you're up and running.
Exactly.
You got a footprint in another city. That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so it works well both for that and then also those studios that aren't just necessarily opening up a new place, but they want to protect against purchasing gear just for a single project or something like that. With the cyclical nature of having to win bids in this industry, people can instead move to an OpEx model and simply create any size environment in the cloud they'd like when they win a bid, and then once they're finished with that project, they can just tear it down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there some security too? Can you limit what this guy can copy down and things like that?
Yeah, so the fact that we're built for a hybrid cloud means that all of the advanced security things we put in place on premises have been ported to the cloud, which means we have mixed mode permissions and all sorts of things and quotas. And so in real time, you can set quotas against users, or you can create permissions, and so you can limit exactly what parts of directories or file systems certain users can see.
Well, that's got to help, again, with that remote, you find the talent and you don't have to worry about them necessarily stealing an intellectual property.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. You can just hire them for exactly what you would like them to do.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. And then a couple points I was hoping to make.
Sure.
So with Qumulo in the cloud, for those that are familiar with Qumulo, they'll know our real-time analytics add a tremendous amount of value, and especially in the cloud, when people hesitate to move to the cloud thinking, oh, that could run rampant and my costs could go haywire or whatever. With our real-time analytics, you get instant visibility into your file system, and you can tweak in real time for an editorial workflow where each client needs a certain performance of throughput or IOPS. You can look at your cluster and see your performance in real time and adjust your compute or your capacity instantly to make sure that all of your users have the right experience.
Yeah, that way you don't get those kind of unexpected I/O charges. You can kind of head them off of the pass.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to be over provisioned. You can just provision it exactly as you need it to be.
Okay, makes sense. So let's roll back a second to the hybrid cloud comment.
Yeah.
I would assume then that also means that I could be running Qumulo on-prem. So in a studio of a certain size, I am going to have a data center.
Yeah.
So could I run that on-prem as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to draw an illustration of that, if you had your data center here, and you had some racks of Qumulo in here, you could take advantage of our native replication.
Okay.
And you could replicate from your cloud cluster to your on-prem cluster, and then that way you can move projects to the cloud. That's done a lot for transcoding or rendering and things like that, where you just need to scale your on-prem infrastructure into the cloud and take advantage of the essentially unlimited capacity of compute in AWS or GCP, and then you could replicate it back down. But it also allows your headquarters with Qumulo to collaborate with remote artists or something like that.
Okay, awesome. So we talked about the value of real-time visibility and the value of hybrid cloud. What's up with next-gen customer success?
Yeah, this is something I just always like to call out whenever I'm talking to anybody about Qumulo. Here at Qumulo, we have people that used to work in post shops themselves, VFX artists, animators, and also storage admins. And so we actually use Slack to communicate to all of our customers.
Oh, yeah.
It's an opt-in. But
cool.
Something about the cloud that makes that unique is people, it's a new frontier, right? And so sometimes people, when moving to the cloud, are looking for a little bit of guidance on how to deploy clusters and set up workstations, and whether we're just working one-on-one with the customer or actually pulling in some systems integrators to have conversations with them and lend their expertise. It's a next-gen way of enabling them, not just from a support perspective, but making sure that they're successful in their cloud endeavor.
So in addition to real-time analytics, you got real-time support almost.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
All right. So before we wrap up the video here, let's talk a little bit about, just give the folks some background on Qumulo that might not know them. But before we do that, we got to address I was going to say the elephant in the room, but the
orange guy in the room.
Yeah, the kumquat in the room. So what's up with him?
Yeah, this is Grumquat. He's our mascot, our company mascot. So when our company was founded, we had this drawn by a famous illustrator. And I think it was kind of a gag thing at first, and it's really become an integral part of Qumulo, which we use it in a kind of funny way, but I think it actually serves a purpose. It kind of keeps us humble and reminds us of our roots as we grow, and remember like the startup mentality and all those things that people like about Qumulo.
That's cool. All right, great. And then so just some quick background on Qumulo.
Yeah. So Qumulo's, specifically within the M&E space, we work with the top 10 Hollywood studios, hundreds of customers, not only spanning M&E, but also higher education, life sciences, other industries where the cloud is of particular interest. So we've spent a lot of time talking about exactly how artists can do some work in the cloud, but you can think of ways where researchers at the end of a quarter at a university could burst into the cloud and take advantage of compute, or life science institutes that have geographically dispersed researchers or something like that could collaborate. So there's a lot of uses for Qumulo, and we've been excited to be in those conversations because it's kind of a new frontier. Yeah.
All right, great. Well, Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, George.
So I'm George Crump, lead analyst for Storage Switzerland. Thanks for joining us.